bad one to start with. Today I'm out flying. It's been a while since I've been up in the air. And I'm gonna go flying with a friend today. I was looking at my logbook and I hadn't logged my last 4 flights, so the last thing that I actually wrote in my logbook was when I flew in the Dominican Republic. And I've had 4 flights since then. So I'm going out to do what's called getting myself current. Technically I'm still current as of today, which means I've had 3 landings in the last 90 days. So being current is different from being proficient though, and I like to get out and fly. Technically I can legally take a passenger with me, but I don't feel comfortable. I haven't flown enough recently, so I decided to come to the airport a little bit early before my friend shows up, do a few landings, get myself to where I feel comfortable in the airplane before I go take somebody else out. So that's what I'm doing today. Go ahead and do another takeoff here. The wind shifted. It was runway 22 when I took off earlier. It's now runway 04 is what it looks like I should be taking off on. So I'll switch runways and take off on runway 04. I'm going to do a couple more landings just to kind of feel a little bit more at ease while I'm flying. It's been a little bit. Airspeed's live. There's 45. There's 50. Go ahead and start to rotate a little bit. There's 60. Hit pitch for 70 to climb out. False traffic 753 turning left across 104 Falston. Alright, so my friend just pulled up. Going to go ahead and get the airplane ready to go for one more quick trip around the pattern. See if I can nail my altitude a little bit better this time. Have a whole brand new panel. It's got some garbage E5, so it's kind of switched to a glass cockpit.
Delta Charlie, Butterglider 109, Hotel Bravo, boarding runway 4, Boston.
I was wondering if I was ever going to see that airplane fly.
Sometimes it does.
False traffic 753, base to final 04, Falston.
Hey Mark, what's up?
Not too much.
You ready for this?
Yeah, dude. I've been thinking about it all morning. How old is this thing?
Probably older than you. It's a 78 model, I think it is. The other one's a 71, so it's even older.
Good to hop in?
Yeah, should be good. I'll let you plug that in when you get in.
This is sweet. If I can get my legs in.
Just make sure your seatbelt is. You might just close it in the door.
Oh, shoot.
I do it every single time. So don't worry about it.
Both of them going?
Yeah, so one of them's smaller, one of them's bigger. You got to put one in each.
There we go.
All right. Or start up engine again here. I'll let you hold that. We're going to go through that one right there. So I'll put this camera down too so it's not whacking in the face or anything. Hope you don't mind if I record this for posterity.
No, you're good.
I'm sure your kids would like to see it if nothing else.
So it's been a while since you've been out flying, right?
It has. Not as long as I thought it was though. So the FAA says you have to have three landings in the last 90 days to take a passenger with you. Mm-hmm. And today is like the last day of that 90-day period. So I've flown a couple times in between there, but I didn't get 3 landings in a row, right? So like I had one of them that I had one landing like 3 months ago today, and then I had another landing or another flight where I had, one, and then I had 2 more recently. So technically I'm still okay, but I just don't feel comfortable. I'd rather go up and get, it's been probably a month or something like that.
Yeah.
So I feel pretty good. It's been flying really well today. So
it's a nice afternoon too. It's pretty clear out.
Yeah, it's great.
club. That's our other club plane there. Falston traffic, Cessna 48753 is back taxiing 04, Falston. There's not a full taxiway that goes all the way down to the end of the runway, so we just do what's called a back taxi. We just use the runway as a taxiway.
And 34 Quebec, clear, runway 4 Boston.
Boston traffic, Meadowglass 109 Hotel Bravo, entering left downwind runway 4 Boston, looking for back taxi traffic.
So there's somebody else coming in now?
Yeah, so he's heading the same direction as we are, and he's going to come around and land this other direction here. So he's
109 Hotel Bravo has the traffic.
Okay, so he's looking for us to make sure that we're out of his way. Boston traffic 753 is off the runway. Come on in.
I can extend if you'd like to take off.
Okay, I'll do that. Cessna 753 is departing runway 04, Falston. All right, here we go. All right, airspeed's coming alive. That's good. It's 40. There's 50. Go ahead and start to rotate. Definitely felt there's a second person in the airplane now. It's taking off a little slower than it was.
You would think being something so small would be a little more jumpy.
It will be once we get up a little into the other bits of wind. It's pretty smooth air today, though. I feel like I'm yelling in your ear.
Boston traffic, Meadowglass 109 Hotel Bravo, turning left base, runway 4 Boston.
Go ahead and keep climbing here for a bit.
What was that?
I'm just going to keep climbing for a little bit here. We'll kind of head over to like where the Conowingo Dam is or something. It's kind of a cool thing to look at.
Okay. Definitely wild.
Pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
I like kind of like you get into jetliners and stuff, and then everything's so far away when you're down here in these little planes. It's kind of cool. You can kind of see everything. Probably just about pick out your house if you.
Boston traffic, Meadowglass 109 Hotel Bravo, clear the active.
222 right there where that main road is. So there's the Safeway store right there. Probably be able to see your house, just like should be right down in that cluster of houses right there.
Take very long to get this far.
Oh no. Yeah, we're doing like 100 miles an hour. 91 over the ground is that's 91 knots, so that's roughly like 99 miles an hour or something like that.
What's our altitude right now?
So right now we are at 2,700 feet. That's above sea level though, so that's not above the ground. We're, I don't know, 2,300 feet above the ground, something like that. You do a little circle around it, maybe you can see it.
Yeah.
Like you've got those two things is that church, and then you've got Royal Farms next to that, and then you cross 543, and then there's Wawa right next to it.
I see it.
All right, so I'll go back around this way, so it'll be on your side this time. Make sure there's nobody around me again. You don't see anybody out there, do you? Make a turn. No?
I always love that feeling when you're flying and you're like kind of parallel to the ground.
Oh yeah. All right, so there's the two tents on the ground there, so just across the street to the right, that should be where your house is, right over there. Kind of straighten out here.
I was going to say they're all baking cookies, so I doubt she's even looking.
Oh, okay. That's cool. I normally let people fly a little bit. If you want to do that, you can.
Yeah, what do I got to do?
Alright, so on the floor there's two pedals, a right and a left pedal, and they adjust the rudder in the back, so it makes it kind of go left and right. So if you have your feet on the pedals, you can feel it. I'll go hands on. I'll do the hands for now, but if you can feel, I'll push on the right pedal a little tiny bit. Should feel the left pedal come up a little bit, and then I'll go back the other way. You can kind of, when I do that, you can kind of feel it fishtail back and forth. So if I step on the left, it'll kind of go like this. You feel that?
Yeah.
If I go the other way, it'll go the opposite direction. There's an airport right here. I'm going to peel off up to the north here a little bit. Those are the rudders, and what happens basically is if you step on those, it kind of makes the airplane start to turn. It's yawing is what it's called, so you yaw to the left. when that happens, the outside wing goes a little tiny bit faster than the inside wing does, so it'll actually start to tip that direction too. So, like if I fly hands off and I just go left rudder, it should start to tip that direction because it's starting to yaw in that direction. If I want to straighten out, I can just do it the opposite direction, just push the right in a little tiny bit.
Town traffic, Skyhawk 1453, uniform, left downwind for runway 210, Morgantown.
Alright, so that's how you do the rudders. Before you initiate a turn with steering wheel, or the yoke as it's called, you want to give it just a little tiny bit. So, like, if you can feel my feet on it, before I turn to the left, I'll give it a little bit of left rudder. And then it doesn't fishtail as much, it just kind of turns and stays coordinated through the turn. Same thing if I'm going back, I'm pushing a little right rudder in, going back and forth that way.
Morgantown traffic, Skyhawk 1453, uniform, left base for 10, Morgantown.
The reason you want to do that is when you turn the yoke side to side, it has these ailerons, is what they're called, these controls on the outsides of the wings. So if I turn to the left like this, what it does is it puts down, it goes up with the one on the left and down with the one on the right, and it should make you tip that direction, right? Because it deflects the wind. Issue is, when you do that, it creates more drag on the outside wing because it's going down into the wind. So if I go like that, if you watch over the nose, like you see that steam coming up off the ground over there, if I don't hit the pedals at all, and I just kind of go like this, you'll see that it kind of takes a second, and the airplane actually kind of goes off to the right a little bit when I'm trying to go to the left. And that's because it has what's called adverse yaw. You hit down that aileron, it kind of goes down into the wind, and it's trying to kind of go this way, but at the same time it's slowing it down on that side. So it takes a second for it to catch up. So the rudder is supposed to overcome that adverse yaw. So when you go into a turn, I always give it a little bit of rudder, and then at the same time turn, and then you don't have that where it turns the wrong direction for a second. Anyway, so go ahead and put your feet on the pedals, and then when you grab the yoke, I always do it with just 2 fingers, maybe 3. You know, if you grab onto it like this or with 2 hands, you just over control it. So that's kind of left and right, and then if you push the yoke forward, it goes nose down. If you pull the nose back, it goes nose up. So go ahead and right hand on there, and I guess so we're pointing right now at 350 degrees of north. I'll go ahead and turn this over to like 30 degrees of north. So go ahead and like make a right turn, and we'll go until this orange line is in the middle of that blue thing.
Right pedal just a little bit before I make the turn.
Yep, just a little pressure more than anything. Good. And putting your nose up a little tiny bit here. Let's put nose down a little bit. There you go. Let's straighten it out when we get to 30 degrees. That's pretty good.
Gettysburg traffic, Scott 34 Juliet is 2 to the west, maneuvering for the left downwind for 6 for pattern, Gettysburg.
There we go. So now we'll go straight back up to the north.
Straighten out the nose a little bit. Crazy, the little adjustment, you could feel everything.
Oh yeah. Most of those bumps you feel is because the sun's beating down on the ground and like pockets of warm air coming up, making some thermals.
Going to the left is a little harder. I don't know why.
It's probably because you're on the other side of the airplane. It kind of feels like you're going farther because you technically are, like it's lifting you up to go that direction, or it would lift me up if I'm going to the right.
But whereabout are we at right now?
So we are just north of Conowingo Dam. Like if you look back that way down, that's Conowingo Lake right there, a reservoir. If you want to, we can go back over the water and you can fly over the top of it.
Am I still trying to line that up with?
I mean, we were looking. If you want it, I can line it up. We're probably going to be doing about 150 degrees or something like that to catch up with the river there.
Gettysburg traffic, Skyhawk 34 Juliet, midfield left downwind, runway 6 for touch and goes, Gettysburg.
Pretty good turn right there. Nice job.
I'm literally going as slow as possible.
Yeah, that's great. This is what you call a standard rate turn. This gauge right here is called a turn coordinator. And if that wing is lined up with the bottom line, that means you're doing 2 minutes, or you would do a 360 degree turn in 2 minutes. You can see right where it kind of like, the water kind of stops and then gets skinny. That's where the dam is. If you want, you can actually cross over the river and it'll be on your side if you want to take a look at the dam.
Okay.
Gettysburg traffic, Skyhawk 34 Juliet is left base to final runway 6. Touch go, Gettysburg.
Just crazy that you're able to just be up here and go wherever you want.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, obviously I couldn't fly into like BWI airspace or whatever. You have to have permission to do that. I mean, technically you can if you ask for permission. And they may say no, but most of the time they'll say sure.
And with this here, that would let you know if there's other people around or not necessarily?
That doesn't. On my phone it does. Like we've got an airplane kind of creeping up on our right over there. He's about 1,000 feet above us. You can see he's at 3,850 feet. We're at 2,600 feet. You could nose down a little bit, just make sure we give him a little bit of a margin of safety there. But here's the cool thing. I'll take control for a second again. If you're flying along, an airplane wants to stay kind of balanced, and there's, you have four forces working on the airplane at any given time. So you have thrust, which is what the propeller gives you, and it pulls you along. And then you have drag as the air goes over the wings and stuff like that. It tries to slow you down. So in order to create more lift, you have to go push more gas and give it more thrust. And then you've also got gravity and lift going in opposite directions, right? So the aircraft, as it goes through the air, the faster it goes, the more lift it creates, and therefore will climb. So most people think that if you want to go down, the best thing to do is just nose over. But what that actually does is it makes us go faster. So if I go nose down, watch our speed. Like climbs way up. If I really want to descend, the best thing to do is just pull the throttle back. And it will still, you'll slow the airplane down, but you can see our altitude's dropping here. This is a vertical speed indicator, so it tells us how fast we're descending. Right now it's at 600 feet a minute. If I pull back a little bit more, it'll drop a little bit more. So I'm actually pulling back right now, and it should make the airplane go up, you would think, but we're actually descending faster as I pull back more because it slows it down, creates less lift. So there's those four forces always acting, and you just want to. Normally the airplane is going to try and balance itself. Like this trim wheel right here, for example, on the back there's a thing called an elevator that makes the nose go up and down. That's attached to the yoke when we push and pull. As long as this is a trim wheel, it has one little tiny bit on that goes up and down a little bit more to adjust it, so you can fly without having to, manhandle it the whole time. Like I can pretty much fly this airplane hands off. If I wanted to go up, what I would do is I'm already trimmed, so I have the trim wheel set so that we're doing about 100 knots. If I wanted to slow the airplane down, what I would do is I'd just pull this trim wheel up a little tiny bit. It'll make the nose go up, but then in turn that makes us slow down. So if you watch our nose, now we're trimmed at about 90, about 80, right? So in a minute it's going to nose back down because the gravity's going to affect it. It's going to bring the nose back down. And so we're trimmed at about 85 knots right now. And it'll keep doing this until it levels out and it's happy where it is, which should be about 90, which is about where we are right now. If I just wanted to climb, instead of like pulling back on the thing, as long as we're trimmed out, you can just give it throttle. And the extra thrust will actually make the airplane pull against the drag harder, which creates more lift, and actually it'll actually make it lift, which is what's happening right now. So our speed hasn't really changed for 85, 90 knots, but our nose has gone up now because we're creating more lift with more thrust.
Looks like the elevation's climbing like significantly faster too.
Yeah, so right now we're doing about 300 feet a minute. A minute ago we were up around 600 or 700 feet a minute. The same thing, if I were to slow this back down to, drop it to 2200 RPM or whatever, the opposite would happen, right? The nose would go down a little bit until it gets to the point where it's kind of just gliding through the air at a speed that's around 90 knots, and it'll just level itself back out. That's kind of what's happening now. We kind of went down a little bit. In a minute here, as it gains more speed, it's going to start nosing back up again, and we'll start to slow back down. All right. Anything else you want to see?
No, I'm just taking it all in. This is awesome.
Okay. I mean, you're welcome to keep flying if you want. I just want to take control just to show you that a little bit.
Any kind of rules about being around like power lines and all that stuff? Like, is there a certain...
As long as you're over them, you're fine. So you obviously, if you were to have an issue with like your engine were to die mid-flight or something like that, it seems like that might be a good place to land because there's a lot of open grass, but there's a lot of, with the power lines there, it's probably not the safest spot. But if you look around, there's lots of farmland up here in this area. So, I mean, if I were to have an engine out, I'd probably land, I don't know if you can see it or not, but there's kind of like a strip of the field right there that's a little bit lighter brown than the green around it.
Yeah.
That'd probably be, looks like a pretty good place to land.
This is absolutely wild.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. I can't even remember a time, like, in my whole life where I didn't want to fly airplanes. I remember being just a 3 or 4 year old kid seeing seeing airplanes fly overhead and like, yeah,
I'm doing that.
that's what I want to do, yeah.
And how long was flight school? Like, how long did you have to take lessons and all that?
So the FAA, it has a number of hours you have to log as a minimum. The minimum is 40 hours of flight time with a certain number of other things you have to account for as well. So it took me about a year. I've heard of people doing it in a couple of months, but that's a lot of flying to get it done. In my case, like my flight instructor was a little bit like, he serves on a couple of board of director type boards and things like that. So he's kind of out of town a lot, and then I travel a bit for work too, so I was kind of out of town a lot too. So we probably could have knocked it out in 6 or 8 months probably, but just because of scheduling and stuff, it took about a year, maybe a little bit more than that even.
We're approaching the Conowingo Dam now.
Yep, it's kind of right. I'll go this way a little bit. It'll be on your side of the plane. There it is right there.
Took like not very long to get here. Awesome.
Yeah. Definitely not the half-hour drive it usually takes in a car. So Harford County Airport's kind of like right over there. I'm going to kind of go to the north here a little bit just to stay out of their way because their runway's basically north-south and people are going to be taking off right towards us. Would go land there, but it looks like there's several people already in the pattern, so we'll just stay clear. Back over to Falston.
What's the furthest you've ever flown in one shot?
So part of your training, you have to do what's called a long distance cross country, and in FAA speak, a cross country is anything that's more than 50 or maybe 60 nautical miles from your home base. So you have to do one of those that's more than 60 and back, and then there's another one where it has to be more than 100 like overall and back. So the longest flight I've ever done is that flight.
Traffic not available.